And we welcome you into another edition of the Maryland Lacrosse Show presented by the Green Turtle. I'm Brendan Hartlove, back for another week with a lot to catch up on between the Maryland women's lacrosse team and the Maryland men's lacrosse team. And we're going to break it all down here today. But to start us off, it's lacrosse season, and the Green Turtle is your local spot to enjoy all the games with Draft Pass. For just $20, enjoy nickel domestic pints all game long and a select appetizer. With your Turtle Touchdown Pass, choose from domestic drafts or Turtle's very own Rinder's Keeper. Check out the Turtles' new locations in Canton and Towson just in time for lacrosse season. And no matter which Turtle you call home, the game day energy is second to none. Head over to the Green Turtle to sip pints, watch the game, and eat like a champ. Valid at participating locations only. Check your local Turtle for details. And to start us off today, it's ladies first. We're going to switch things around and go with the Maryland women's lacrosse team first today. And we are joined by Maryland head coach Kathy Reese, as well as Maryland midfielder Shannon Smith. Guys, thank you for being here.
Hey, good to see you. Thanks for having us.
So the weather could be better. It was not great last night when you guys were out there either. Have we dried off yet?
Yeah. Yeah, we caught a break last night, in the weather as far as the monsoon we saw during the day. But yeah, tough game, for us. And today we're getting ready to head out to practice in a little bit. We have a real quick turnaround before we head to Big Ten conference opponent, Michigan, tomorrow morning.
And that is going to be a big one coming up. And before we get to that, let's take a look back over the last couple games, because a lot has happened since the last time we had one of these shows, Coach. It feels like a whole other season has gone by. Just to recap, you got the win at Ohio State on the road, which is the one right after, I think, our last show. The win on the road at Georgetown, the win at home to Rutgers, and then you talked about last night's game against Penn. That is a difficult stretch of games that you've had with 2 road games in there, and you're headed out on the road again. How have you kind of addressed that approach to playing away from home this season? Because you've had a good amount of success so far.
Yeah, this week especially is just 3 games in 7 days against 3 really good opponents is tough. But I think our team embraces the competition. They love the challenge. They love playing tough opponents and good games. I mean, that's what teaches us about ourselves. And I think, we've had some great wins over the past couple of weeks, and I don't know that we've played our best lacrosse yet, which is something we're obviously shooting for. We've had some great games defensively, some great games offensively, but really trying to put it all together and doing it for a full 4 quarters as we go through is ultimately our goal. And every game's taught us something different about ourselves. We've learned how to play against different styles of defense, different offensive players. But again, playing the best people out there and all the great competition that we're seeing is just really setting us up to continue to grow and get better as a team.
And Coach, quickly before we get to Shannon, I want to ask you one thing that just popped back into my mind, because after we did the show last time, I believe you walked out onto the practice field wearing goalie gear. Is that correct? And how did that go?
Well, I'm not very good. I know that. And I, it's have just a lot of respect for our goalkeepers that get in the cage every day and really just challenge our shooters to get better. And just to see the cage. And I mean, I only got shot on with tennis balls because I'm too much of a whip to do anything else. But again, I give our goalies a lot of love and a lot of credit for that, because they are just super tough and you have a whole new kind of respect for what they see and what they do out there. But we did learn that I'm terrible.
Shannon, do you have any interest in kind of switching roles there a little, or you want to stay as far away from that as possible?
Definitely gonna leave that one to Emily and Julia, JJ, Carly. They can take the reins on that one.
But so Shannon, for you, what is it like? Because I was sent the video of your guys' reaction as you saw Coach walk out onto the field. What was that? Did you know that was happening, or what was that kind of realization when you saw what might be going down?
I think I was halfway through stretching before I even realized. So it definitely took me a little bit, but I mean, it was pretty funny, I can't lie. And taught us some good lessons too, so it was a win-win.
Did you get to shoot on Coach at all, or were you not part of that onslaught?
No, I got to. I was lucky.
Yeah?
Yep.
And she scored every time, see? So it's they have a good group of offensive players, so it was nice that I trust them out there. I only made 2 saves.
Hey, that's two more than some folks could have made, Coach. So I think you got to take what you can get. And that was going to be my next question. So thank you. What was the conversion rate of shots to saves for Coach? But
Save percentage is very low, very low.
and we don't need to talk about if we put all the other Big Ten coaches into kind of a stat pool, what that would be like. Although I think that would be a really interesting experiment for.
I am going to go with they're probably better than me.
I think you're selling yourself a little short there, Coach, because you have some of the top attacking players in the nation trying to score on you. And so, Shannon, for you, this offense is really dynamic and it is year after year after year. And you've been here for a number of years now. How do you kind of see that offensive unit gel and kind of come together to put up some pretty good numbers so far this year?
Yeah, I think honestly, a lot of it's built off the field. Kind of just like recognizing each other's strengths and then kind of bringing it onto the field, like utilizing what we're good at. I mean, I think that also it's like it's not just like 4 attackers and like 3 middies or 2 middies. We have like our whole team. We're all participating and like contributing this year, which has been really fun.
And Coach, for you, this is something that we talk about time and time and time and time again, is just the potency of your offense year after year. And you have a couple players that are really standing out, even just in the last couple of games. Hannah's one that comes to mind. What have you kind of seen from her over the last couple of games that has really kind of clicked on the offensive side?
Sure. Well, she's stepped up huge, in our games recently. She struggled earlier in the season, shooting and scoring, with her percentages and where she was, but she draws a lot of attention from other teams' defenses. She's a great dodger. She's super explosive and gets herself some really good looks at goal. And in our past few games, she's been shooting well over 50%. And that's been awesome. As a team, that's where we like to be. We've been pretty close in our last couple of games from that kind of goal that we have as a unit. But having her, get the looks that she takes and being able to finish on those opportunities have made the difference for us in some of our games for sure.
And Shannon, Hannah, you, Shay, Emily, like there's a really experienced group on this team, and we've had Emily and Shay on the show so far this season, and I've kind of asked them the same thing. And it's always interesting because you get different responses, but you're kind of one of the leaders of this group, one of the elder statesmen, if you will. You have a lot of new faces coming into the team, transfers and freshmen. What do you see as your role in kind of helping them adjust, get into the speed of things so that maybe they're really contributing this way through the season?
Yeah, I think what's helped me a lot is I've kind of been in those shoes before, transferring in my sophomore year. So kind of looking back and remembering like how I felt when I came in, and remembering like I have certain people in my head that always stick out that came in and helped me. So kind of remembering what they did for me, I try to do the same for them. So kind of welcoming them in, kind of just like showing what Maryland Lacrosse is about, because like that's what makes this place so special. So really just showing like the culture, always supporting each other. And I think like that's the biggest thing. Like whoever you're on the team, whatever your role is, everybody has each other's backs and everybody respects each other. So I think that's like the biggest thing that we all try to kind of bring down to everybody, to kind of like keep the culture the same.
And you alluded to it, you transferred in, and you were at North Carolina and transferred in, and you're from Maryland. So what was it kind of like to come back? You're playing for your home state, the packed crowds and everything with friends and family. I mean, that has to be pretty fun, no?
Yeah, it was definitely really special. I think that, I mean, in more ways than one, when I came here, like it just kind of felt like home immediately, even though, I mean, I am from Maryland. Maryland's always felt like home, but just like this place has felt kind of just special from the start. And I mean, everybody talks about like playing for Maryland in Maryland is something pretty unique, but I think that once you experience for the first time, you really like, you believe what everyone says. Like it's true. It's really special. So I think that I'm like pretty lucky that I've been able to come over here and do that.
And Coach, for you, like that's a big emphasis, and not even just you're recruiting out of high school and the freshmen that are coming in, but you have players that will, transfer from other universities to come back and play at home. Is that a big kind of selling point to be in front of friends and family in terms of, talking to players and joining the team?
Well, I do think we've got great lacrosse in our state. and from the high schools around and the club programs. And we also get great crowds at our game. And so you play lacrosse in Maryland at Maryland is something that's really unique and special. And, both the men's team and our team do really well with attendance and fans coming to support our program. And it is something really special to represent the University of Maryland. And even for out-of-state kids, they feel the same way. And so, when we get people that can come in as new players or transfers into our program, it's important that they feel that family atmosphere right away. That we're all here competing for the same goals. We're all in this process together and going through it together. We're going to have hard days. We're going to have great days. We're going to have ups and downs, and we're going to learn a lot about ourselves as we go through, but we're always going to stick together. And so just making sure that we have that kind of support around as people kind of join our program has been crucial to our success over the past years.
You talk about those ups and downs, and even the last couple of weeks, you've had the ups and the downs. Let's talk a little bit about last night, just because it was a really tough game against the number 14 team in the country, Penn, and it's a midweek game. You talked about how all those difficult games right in a row. What were you kind of able to take away from that game? Because even with the loss, you're still undefeated in Big Ten play, being kind of one of those games that sneaks in. Just what were your kind of biggest takeaways from those, Coach?
Takeaways. Well, first, Penn is a really, really strong team. And, they had lost one game all season as well, just as we did by one goal. And they came ready to compete and ready to play. And I thought they had a really good game plan, and they stuck to it, and they were disciplined and they were aggressive. And, we turned the ball over too much, and we didn't match their intensity on a lot of things that happened. And so, like I said earlier, we're learning a lot about ourselves as we go through the season. And I know we've got our eyes set on our next Big Ten opponent. You get to this part of the season, and it is a little bit different that we have some non-conference opponents kind of mixed in, in the schedule, which does make it a little harder when you start conference competition. But it's a quick turnaround. We've got to practice this afternoon and tomorrow morning, a quick practice before we head out to Michigan. So quick turnaround, lots to cover as we go to play another top 10 team on the road. And we're going to be challenged on both sides of the ball, on offense and defense, but we just want to make sure as a group we're prepared. We've learned from last night that, we were seeing this season, like every game can go anyway. Winning's hard, and you've got to go on the field and you've got to bring it every day, every play. And you need to make sure that you're not just trying to beat your opponent. You're trying to be the best version of yourself and your team that you can be. And in our sport, there's a lot of games that have gone different, either way. You just never know what's going to happen. And that's been the cool thing about this year. But it's also a reminder for us as we try to put together a full game of awesome Maryland lacrosse, how important each play really is to our ultimate success.
And Shannon, for you, that was a game of ups and downs last night as well, a game of runs, things like that. What were you seeing from your team in terms of the approach to that game, and some of the stuff you guys tried that worked, that didn't work, and maybe we'll kind of look at going forward?
Yeah, I think definitely reflecting on last night, I think we learned a lot. Obviously, it didn't go our way, but I think that's the times when we do learn the most. So I think honestly today we're going to come to practice, kind of reflect on yesterday and see where we can improve. And it kind of taught us some areas that we can work on. So I think we'll just kind of take that, learn, and then kind of move on and get ready for our next game.
And Coach, you talked about these upcoming games. They're coming thick and fast in this game at Michigan on Saturday. Break down that matchup for us. What are you kind of thinking about going into this one, the takeaways from the last couple games in terms of how that's going to factor into your matchup with Michigan? Sure.
Well, our focus is really just on us and what do we need to do to be successful. And you go into Michigan, they've had a great season. They, have a few players that have just doing a whole lot for them. Their defense is tough. Michigan it's a tough place to play, on the road out there. And, but for us, and being the short turnaround that we have to put together what we did and learned from our game versus Rutgers, to turn around to have what we did against Penn, and then to be ready for what Michigan's going to throw at us. Because, while their team is super physical and can pose a lot of challenges for us on offense, the way that they play defense. We just need to be ready to attack with our Maryland mindset and that sense of urgency, and just play with that relentless hustle and style that we know we have within us, but I think has been lacking for the past couple games. We just kind of need to refine it and reassess that and step on the field and demonstrate it from the start.
And Shannon, for you, as kind of the team, Coach talks about those difficult games and kind of being a goldfish, if you will, from the loss to going forward. How do you guys approach that, knowing that you're playing some of the toughest teams in the nation back to back to back to back?
Yeah, I think kind of recognizing that, I mean, each game day is a new opportunity to kind of like show what we learned and put like our best effort out there and kind of show everyone what Maryland lacrosse is about. So I think it's definitely important for us to kind of treat each game individually. And it's like, we always say like we're going 1-0 on the day, whether that's like a play, practice, a game day. So for games, I mean, we're going to go in trying to go 1-0. I think also it's important to like, as we go through our season, make sure we're learning from our games, not dwelling on them, but learning from them, and then kind of taking what we can learn and putting our best foot forward in the next one.
And Coach, when we look at these games this season, as we've established, they're big time matchups. And so they're getting big time attention. And we always talk about games being on the Big Ten Network and the attention that your team is getting in some of these matchups. How important is it for the women's game to be getting these kind of primetime games there on the network when maybe you go back a handful of years, it maybe wasn't the case? How have you seen that change?
Yeah, the exposure, the television exposure we're receiving as a sport has been great. It's been awesome. It's fun to watch. Our sport's exciting to watch. It's super competitive. It's like we said earlier, these games it doesn't matter if you're ranked 1 or you're ranked 20, like you're going to come out and you're going to get a competition. You're going to get a fight. And I think it's entertaining for fans. And we're seeing as more of these games are picked up, whether it's by, Big Ten Network or ESPNU or even, on the digital platform. It's awesome to just have these available to fans to watch and to see as our game continues to grow and these matchups are super intense and exciting for fans. It's really fun to have the ability to check them out on all these different platforms.
And Coach, you've had a familiar voice as the analyst on the last couple of games with Taylor Cummings, who not only a phenomenal player and coach herself, but now a rising broadcaster. What is it like to just we talk about, your former players that go into coaching and all these other things. That's maybe a unique one a little bit. She's crushing.
Yeah, she does such a fantastic job. I mean, she is out there. She's so knowledgeable on the sport. She knows the players. She knows the styles that each of these schools play and the way that the coaches coach and approach their team and what they're looking to do. And I think she does a really good job of explaining our sport, maybe to fans that don't have a full understanding and can grasp what's out there. So I think she's excellent. And I'm excited when we do find out that she is on our games, because I do think she does a good job of just making sure everything is clear, and makes, it just explains things to the people out there that are watching. But we do have a bunch of games coming up here. Our game versus Michigan's on Big Ten Network as well. So we'll be out there and hopefully people will have the ability to tune in and check us out as well.
I always say, when I call games with Taylor, I always say she makes me sound way smarter than I actually am, because you're right, the way she breaks things down, and both as a player and a coach, because sometimes you have players that are that caliber that are really good. They just don't always know how to explain it or how to articulate it and stuff like that. They're almost too smart for their own good. And Taylor is phenomenal at that kind of thing. And it means so much to this program. Shannon, for you, that's probably kind of an interesting thing, because you, growing up in Maryland, I'm sure looked up to Maryland players, but now you're the one that younger girls are looking up to when you're signing autographs and things after the game. What's that got to feel like?
Yeah, it's definitely pretty surreal, especially because, I still look at players like Taylor, Zoe Stukenberg, like all the Maryland greats, and look up to them still to this day. So, I always just kind of look at them as role models and try to emulate them. So I know that for me, it was really cool to have role models in Maryland too. And so I kind of just remember that as I approach every game, I guess. And, kind of with my teammates, and always try to stay after. I know we all love seeing the little girls after. So it's been fun.
And it means the world to them, and you can see it when their face kind of lights up, and then it's a cycle, right? They might be the one signing autographs for the next generation, a couple years down the line. Coach, to close us out, what is the biggest thing you think we need to know about your team as we're I don't even know, I feel like we say it every time, we don't know what percentage of the way through the season we are. It feels like we just kind of got started too. But what is maybe the biggest thing you think we need to know as we go into the home stretch, I guess?
Yeah, we're about 2/3 of the way through our regular season right now, but we're heading into a lot of conference opponents. And the Big Ten Conference for women's lacrosse is really strong. And, not only you've got Michigan and Northwestern are two programs up in the top, but Hopkins and Penn State, Penn State just had a win over Northwestern the other day too. So we're all, it's just going to be battles as we go, throughout the end of the season. But, I think for this group is a really special group where they're so much fun to be around and so much fun to coach. And, we're continuing to grow and get better. And I just know our best lacrosse hasn't been played yet. And, so I think as this season kind of goes to the last third of our regular season, we're just going to look to get a little better every day, to compete a little harder, to play with a little more intensity and grit and fire when we're out there, and leave everything on the field. And you can't take any matchup for granted or assume anything. You need to earn it. And this group knows that. And we've seen that, we've learned that, we've experienced it as we've gone through, and coming off a really tough loss last night against a strong team, we need to just reset and refocus before we turn around in 2 days and play another really tough team. But these guys will be ready. Maryland will be ready, and it's going to be a fun end to the season for sure. So, stick with us, keep watching, keep supporting the Terps. We love the support and love the love, and these guys are going to do great things as we finish out this season.
Well, we enjoy following along. Coach Shannon, thank you so much for your time as always. Great seeing you both. Safe travels and best of luck coming up this weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Maryland head coach Kathy Reese and midfielder Shannon Smith ahead of the Terps trip to Ann Arbor to take on Michigan on Saturday at 12:30. That game on the Big Ten Network. And we're going to switch over to the men's team. But before we do, introducing the Turtle Triple Play at the Green Turtle, an extraordinary and unbeatable offer that's guaranteed to make your taste buds cheer with unparalleled excitement. For just $25, indulge in an appetizer and two delectable entrees that will tantalize your senses with every delicious bite, all while enjoying exhilarating atmosphere of a sports fan's paradise. And here's the grand slam. For a mere additional $5, you can elevate your experience to legendary status by adding your choice dessert or two refreshing alcoholic beverages, making this offer an absolute steal. So you don't want to miss out. To score big with the Turtle Triple Play at the Green Turtle today, check your local Turtle for details. So now we pivot to the men's side, and we are joined by Maryland head coach John Tillman and Maryland attackman Daniel Kelly. Coach Daniel, thanks for being here. Good to see you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So, Coach, it's been a busy couple of weeks, and we talked to Kathy. It feels like so much has gone on since the last time we've done one of these shows, and you guys have had a lot of games against a lot of difficult opponents. And it's been a tough stretch, but I'm sure there are things that you take away from these last couple games that going forward into the rest of the season, you're going to be able to kind of use as positives to build upon.
Oh yeah, every game it's an opportunity to learn, just to kind of, excuse me, what did we do well? What are things maybe we didn't feel like we played quite as well on? Certainly want to build on the things that we do well. In every game, there's always positives. Certainly like last week, we wanted to be, very careful with how many penalties we had and be disciplined there. And we had no penalties. So that was definitely a bright spot. Try not to beat ourselves and not give teams extra opportunities with the power play. And even, areas that maybe we didn't feel like we did quite as well. We go back to work, we kind of address them, we work on them. We try to talk to the guys about, what we can do to help them get better, put them in a better position to be successful, whether it's, how we teach, what we're teaching, the way we practice, what we focus on. And just try to get better. I know Kathy kind of mentioned that as well. Like it's really a process, and each team is really trying to go through the year to try to build towards the end and really put your best foot forward. And I just think there's so much value to playing a hard schedule because it does force you to kind of address the areas maybe you came up short. But man, if you do that, you can build a battle-tested team that's, hopefully seen a lot of the things that are out there, and now you put your best foot forward coming down the stretch.
And Daniel, coach talks about that really difficult schedule that you guys have had. How do you kind of evaluate the last couple games and where you guys are at?
As players, we love the tough schedule. Every week's a grind, but for us right now, I think we're focused on ourselves. How can we get better each day? How can we grow a little bit? And leading into this week, we have a tough opponent in Penn State, but each day, we're trying to find ways for ourselves and how we can improve and become a better team down the stretch here.
And Daniel, you are one of the leaders of this team, one of the captains, and it's, we talk with players throughout the course of the season. You have a really important role in kind of ushering in this next group and helping them get settled and stuff like that. How do you kind of see your role helping either some of the transfers or the freshmen coming in kind of get accustomed to Maryland lacrosse?
I think just trying to lead by example. We had guys do that for us when we were younger and coming in, and for us in this role, we take a lot of pride in that. We don't take this role lightly at all. So trying to lead by example every day, trying to play like a Terp, that's the biggest thing. Trying to do the tough things, play like a Terp. And I think for us, we're starting to move in the right direction a little bit, and we're excited. So.
And Coach, you've obviously known Daniel and seen him progress. How have you seen his development, both on the field and maybe off the field as a leader as well?
Yeah, Daniel, is a guy who's been around the game a long time, and it's really evident. He just has a good feel for just kind of the nuances of the game and how the game should be played. But he's great with people. He's just got a good sense of, the locker room and where guys are, and individually, but also collectively. He's not afraid to speak his mind, which is great. Sometimes when guys are his age, they're afraid to speak up for a number of reasons. And I love the fact that Daniel's confident enough just to say, hey, coach, any thoughts on this, or, hey, any thoughts we could do this, or, hey, I think if we did it this way, this would be more effective. So we certainly welcome it. Again, you're not living the same life as your players, and when you're 18 to 23 and you grew up a little differently than the coaches did, it's important that you have that communication and open lines of it. And I certainly never want guys to be afraid to say things because they're afraid of like what we might say back, or they feel like we'd be threatened or anything like that. I just feel like these guys always have the best intentions. So we welcome their feedback, good, bad, or indifferent, because just like they're trying to get better, you're never too old to get better as a coach. There's always ways you can be better. To me, if you have that growth mindset, it does help you evolve and continue to grow as a player and coach.
And Daniel, when we look at multiple captains on a team, and Coach talks about the leadership and not being afraid to speak your mind. When you have a group of captains, you don't all necessarily lead the same way. Some lead by example, some are more vocal. How do you kind of see that group maybe either differ in approach but come together to kind of all have the same goal?
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I think on the offensive side of the ball, like Jack Horace, he's not one that really speaks up a lot, but he leads by example every day. He does the little things. He's scrappy. Guys will look to him and be like, if Jack's doing this, I should probably do that as well. For myself, I'm probably the more vocal guy. And the same thing on the defensive end. You have Ajax and Jack McDonald. The same thing goes there. And then Luke Weirman, he's a little bit more vocal as well. But we mesh well. There's a time and place to be vocal and to get on the guys, but there's a time and place to pump them up and kind of boost their tires and give them a little confidence. So we try to balance it well. It's hard, but that's the role that we're in, and we take a lot of pride in that.
And you mentioned that leadership coming together is a beautiful thing. Another beautiful thing is the work that you guys do off the field. And Daniel, you're sporting a new haircut right now, or at least here in the last couple of weeks. You want to tell us maybe how that came about?
Yeah. AJ Larkin reached out to the team. It's for the Headstrong Foundation. Every haircut, you raise $1,000. For us, it was a no-brainer. Anything we can do to help kids in need, for people in need, it's a simple thing. Your hair grows back. So we all did it together, and it's fun. You get to support a new haircut, but you're also helping people. So we take a lot of pride in that as well.
And Coach, for you, what's it like to see your group of guys come together for something off the field that really makes a pretty big difference?
To me, it's everything, right? These guys are on this journey while they're here. There's a lot of growth. We talk about be the best person, student, and player you can be. And it's a never-ending challenge. But I do think that mindset of constantly trying to, be the best version of yourself, that's really why kids go to college, right? And as coaches, we had coaches that helped us kind of navigate and grow and see that there's a lot more out there than just ourselves. Certainly these guys are pretty dialed in. There's certain responsibilities they have. They want to do well in school. They want to play well. And those are things that are important to them, just like their families and their friendships and relationships. But also, there's a big world out there. Certainly in our local community, there's all these great opportunities to give back and help others that, could use some help. And I think if we collectively, all did more of that, obviously the world would be a better place. But it starts with each one of us, making that effort. That first step's important. And I think when you start seeing the positive impact you can make, it kind of makes you want to do it more. And these guys are in such a great time in their life where they can positively impact so many. We have an awesome platform. There's a lot of people that, care about the program. There's a lot of young people that look up to these guys. So I think having that mindset, again, allows them to grow. And then when they get out in the real world, they just continue to do a lot of those things. And again, they can make such an awesome difference. And you're super proud of the guys for that.
And Daniel, Coach talks about it. This is a whole other element of being a college athlete and having that platform and stuff like that. How do you guys approach that? Kind of having maybe a bit of a say. You can make that difference. Like, it's not just going out and playing lacrosse every day. There's a bit more to it than that. Yeah,
I think for us, lacrosse is what we do. It's not who we are as people. I think we have a great platform. We're on TV a lot. This little thing is a haircut, it goes a long way for people raising money. And for us, it was like, whatever we can do to help, we want to do, and help people that are in need. And I think for us, like you said, we have a great platform, but lacrosse is bigger than just playing. The people that are involved in the sport, anything we can do to help people that are in need, like I said, like it's a great thing for us to do.
And Coach, did you know the buzz cuts were coming, or did you show up to practice one day and everybody was looking real different?
It was definitely a slow process. You started to see guys showing up, and notice some different looks, and the guys have, we started this a few years back. So it's been cool to see. I think one of the first years we did it was 2016. But we've done it a number of times, and I've helped, and I've added in. Unfortunately, guys had to look at my bald head, and it wasn't a thing of beauty, but try to get involved as well and just let the guys know, we're part of this too. We want to help and support. And again, just kind of shows that the guys are not so like caught up in what they need to do and just them. They're keeping a key eye on, man, this is something that we could do to help other people. And it just speaks to the locker room we have and why, obviously, as a staff, we feel so lucky to have this group and to be with them every day.
So, Daniel, were these buzz cuts done like DIY or professionally, or what was the process of going? Because I kind of just pictured you all lining up and just taking clippers, everybody. Coach said it was maybe a bit more of a gradual thing.
Everyone's a little timid to do it at first, but once one person does it, it's kind of a trickle-down effect. We actually do it right in our locker room. A couple guys just bring buzzers in, and you get it done. It's pretty simple and easy. It takes a short period of time, and little by little, everybody starts to do it.
It's difficult to go wrong with the buzz cut. You're not exactly working with fine margins here. Who maybe, and obviously, again, this is stating the obvious for a great cause, who maybe had the most luscious locks that everybody was kind of sad to see him go a little bit? You can give a couple if you don't want to pick out one, but
Eric Spanos always has a good head of hair. Now he's buzzed. Jack Corus actually has a good head of hair, but he's buzzed as well. So they were a little bit upset about that.
Oh, like you said, it all grows back. It's not going anywhere. They got plenty of time before they need to start worrying about how much they have left, kind of thing. Yeah. Coach, we talk about all the stuff that goes on kind of off the field, but still kind of tied in. We had a lot of high school games played on campus here in the last couple weeks, and a lot of alumni are coaching those teams. So, Coach Tillman, for you, what's it like to kind of see those guys take that next step and kind of the next generation coming into the coaching game?
Yeah, it's really cool just to see the guys in that element, trying to, again, positively impact others, right? Staying with that theme. I think Daniel, it seems even at this point, has mentioned that, coaching might be something that he'd like to do. I think it'll be a tremendous one on so many levels. His dad's a highly successful coach as well, so he's got a great role model there. And just to see those guys in their element, they're passionate about the game, but they're passionate about teaching and helping these guys grow. So it's cool. We had Brian Doherty, who obviously played back, and I think he was a player of the year in '95, a guy that I played some club lacrosse with, and one of the best goalies ever. And he's an older guy now, but you could see like he was so excited to be back, was super fired up to have his team there in Maryland Stadium. Got a big win, I think their first win ever against an MIA team. So he was really proud of his guys. And then his assistant, Matt Rahill, was part of it. So obviously Matt was with us a couple of years ago, but it was great to see him there. And, on the other side, had some other alums, Bubba Burles was on that side, which was really cool to see. He's been coaching at St. Mary's a long time. Kyle Long was coaching as well. So definitely nice to see that. Ryan Adolph, who's been coaching at Springfield, again, a guy that was here before I got here, but just generations of guys. You just see how important lacrosse has been in their life, and now to see them so passionate on the sidelines, and just the way they carry themselves and the way they coach the kids is super cool.
And Daniel, for you, like Coach said, you might end up being one of those coaches one day. But even, looking in the past, you're a local guy. You know what it's like to be a player on one of those teams, and you kind of idolize Maryland lacrosse and look up to them. What's that like to now kind of be on? I asked Shannon Smith the kind of the same thing. What's it like to be on the other side of that, where maybe they're younger players looking up to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's an awesome role. I remember growing up looking up to these guys. Watching Matt Rambo and Heacock and those guys go at it. You always dream of being in that role, playing in the games that they played in. And now that we're here, I mean, it's awesome. It's great. It's an awesome role to be in. And it's great. Growing up in Towson, I think for me, it's a hotbed of lacrosse. So you're always looking towards the University of Maryland, seeing what they're doing, watching those games on the biggest stages. And it's something that I don't take lightly, being in this role. I know nobody else does as well.
And Coach, we talked Kathy about the same thing. Both the men's and the women's team benefit from this being a hotbed of lacrosse. And you talk about the coaches that have come out of here, the star players, the professionals now that have come out of this area. How crucial is it to just have such a lacrosse culture in the area surrounding your program?
Yeah, I mean, lacrosse means so much here. The local community, the state. So we know how proud people are of, just the lacrosse in this area, and to the school, knowing that we have such a great history, the alums, the fans. To me, it's something that definitely motivates you. You try to, put something on the field that they can be excited about. I know that was a big deal during COVID. We couldn't have fans at the game, but there were times where the games were on TV, and, people were nice enough to send us an email, and we would read them to the guys, and they just mentioned how, they didn't have a lot to look forward to. People were down, but man, they look forward to watching the team play every week. And that was something I think that we all took to heart and felt like, we got to make sure we come out every week and just play hard, and play a brand that people can be proud of, win, lose, or draw. And I feel like we find ourselves back there a little bit. Obviously, what happened this week and up in Baltimore, obviously a tough blow. That's something that, for all of us locally, it's like, man, the state and the city are hurting a little bit. So I think there's a little sense of, hey, we got to make sure we do our part. We're going to be on TV on Sunday night. Let's give people around here something they can be proud of, and something to kind of distract them from what's happened. It doesn't solve the problem, but sometimes a little bit of a distraction can be helpful to get through some of these tough times.
And that's one of the most beautiful things about sports, is that it can bring people together in times of hardship and whatever it might be, kind of coming together and supporting, a team or a sport or something like that. And Coach, you mentioned this game coming up. That's going to be on TV, and you even get into the geography of that as well, against Penn State. How do you begin to break down that game? Because that's going to be a really tough matchup.
Yeah, really good team. Obviously, the team had a great year last year, really bounced back, returned a lot of really good players. I think they've won 7 in a row now. Always athletic, a lot of really good players, well coached. So we'll have our hands full. It seems like you say that every week in our league. Yeah. Every team really has talent and is well coached in our league. So we really just got to make sure that we kind of understand what we need to do. And I think that's been the last couple of days. We've been not only trying to prepare for our opponent, but I think there's a lot that we can do for ourselves and really look inward as we're getting ready for them. That will help us get ready for Sunday, because there are definitely some things that we need to continue to improve upon. And I think Kathy mentioned that as well. You're just trying to get a little bit better every day, individually, collectively, in every aspect. And the teams that stay committed to that usually put their best foot forward come May.
And Daniel, for you, as one of the leaders, kind of what's the message, the vibe around the team right now going into such a big game?
Yeah, obviously, we're preparing for them. They're a really good team. They always are. As the coach said, everybody else in this league is as well. And every week's a battle. For us, past couple of days, we've been preparing, but also, taking a look in the mirror and trying to better ourselves individually and collectively. I think getting back to playing the Maryland brand of lacrosse that we know that people before us instilled, and we got to live up to that. And I think for us, that's the biggest thing. We can prepare and focus on them, and like we will, and they're a good team. We do that every week. But for us, trying to focus a little bit on ourselves, like Coach said, and there's room for us to improve all over the field. And that's kind of our main focus, is just getting back to doing the little things that make the big things work.
A big-time game on the horizon. Daniel, Coach, thank you so much, as always. Appreciate the time and the insight. Safe travels up, and best of luck this weekend.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
So, again, another big-time game coming up for Maryland men's lacrosse on Sunday, March 31st at 7 against Penn State. That'll be on the Big Ten Network. And one last time, introducing the Turtle Triple Play at the Green Turtle, an amazing $25 offer, including an appetizer and 2 entrees, a high-value experience in a sports fan's paradise. Check your local Turtle for details. So that will do it for this edition of the Maryland Lacrosse Show. We're going to have another couple episodes coming up in the next few weeks, and a lot of lacrosse to be played in between. And we will talk more to John Tillman and Kathy Reese in the coming weeks. But that will do it for our crew putting this show together. I'm Brendan Hartlow. We'll see you next time.